How many of you want to be a CEO? 90% of the hands go up, but only 7% get there. You don't become a CEO when you're given the CEO role. You have to display that mindset for a number of years.
You have been in CEO role for more than 20 years. How would you prepare in those days?
I would just look at the data. Is there anything which I have a bias towards? Because one of the things about developing a hypothesis is you can get very caught up in your hypothesis and be blind to it.
You call yourself a brand person.
Is this brand a flavor of the day, a tactic of the day? 90% of the brands in India have gone down the tube because of excessive promotion.
How was your experience with Nokia, Pepsico and Unilever?
Similar yet dissimilar. What mattered was you did what's right for the company.
And that's how you leave your legacy, right?
That is the test of legacy. You always think you know the business basis 20 years of experience. You just repeated yourself 20 years over. Look ahead. If you look ahead, then the challenge is very different.
So Shiv, thank you so much for joining us on Neon Show.
My pleasure, Nancy. What a journey and what a story you have to tell,
Thank
more
you.
than what I have to tell.
So Rama Bijapur said about you that you're a person with fighter's instinct.
I see. When did she say it?
I read in one of the articles.
Okay.
So what is fighter's instinct?
Okay, let me put this. First of all, thanks to Rama for saying that. The thing about a fighter instinct, the way I would look at it is, never ever think that you're not good enough for something. Number one. That's very important. So always, if you want to reach your potential, you have to shoot above your potential. Number one. The second thing about a fighter instinct is, when you go in, you say, look, what does it take to, make this work? I won't use the word win. What does it take to make it work? Okay? And third, a fighter instinct, as I understand it, is something that if you have a setback, you come back from the setback. Those are the three components of, what I would regard as maybe resilience plus ability to, grind it down and, make it work. A lot of people, what happens is, Nancy, they tend to blame the external circumstances. Okay, so if something doesn't go well, okay, this didn't happen, karma, that happened. No. A fighter instinct is one way you focus on the things you control and you maximize that. And you don't worry about the things you don't control. And let that go. Okay, that's what I would, respond in terms of your question.
And in your journey, you have been fighting.
Yeah.
We just talked about fighter's instinct. You have been a fighter for last many, many years. How do you feel internally? Like you have been in CEO role for more than 20 years. Before that also you were with Unilever for 19 years. How do you feel when every day is difficult for you and the coming years are also difficult?
The thing is, you must enjoy the journey. You must enjoy the challenge. I won't say a fight because
How do you enjoy
when
it?
you say fight, people think it's physical. I would say the challenge. Okay. How do you enjoy it? By being prepared, by thinking about it deeply, by looking at the future, by talking to people who can, see the future, by looking at industries which have happened, etc. I can tell you one of the biggest fights I had in that sense, a challenge, was in Unilever. Okay, when I was in personal products and the shampoo category. Everybody in the company, from the chairman downwards to my predecessor who was, still in the company, they all did not agree with what me and 4 of my people were saying she is the future. Not one of them. Why? They were very comfortable with the past. And that's what I say in the book, that one of the biggest sins of a CEO is past forward. You think that the past will repeat itself. We said the past will not repeat itself. This is the new price point strategy. This is what we need to do. They didn't agree with us. It was a fight day in and day out. And a lot of the people are thinking, these guys don't know what they're talking about. But today I can tell you, 20 years later, those guys had no clue what they were talking about. Me and my team, those 4-5 people, could see the future. That price point strategy which we put in 2003-04 is valid even today. Now that is the test of legacy. That is the test of thinking. So when you say, okay, challenges are daily, that gives me pride. That gives me pride to say, we took on a company which was unwilling to change, but we were right. So whether it's Rajnikant Sabnaves, Saket Gore, Rukmini Mitra, these are the people who, along with our ecosystem, we could see where the market was headed. The guys who ran it in the past didn't see it. And that is the mistake of every single management team. You always think you know the business basis 20 years of experience. You just repeated yourself 20 years over. Look ahead. If you look ahead, then the challenge is very different.
And what was exactly happening with this shampoo category?
Because there was low price competition coming in. And because we had good margins, okay, people said, hey, if we go into these kind of price points, our margin will drop. But we said the penetration will go up dramatically. You'll make much more money. And don't worry about it. And we are well placed. But for 6 months, they pushed us back. Okay, 6 months later, they asked us to do it. They said, okay, fine, because whatever they were saying was wrong. Okay. Whatever we were saying was right.
So they still waited.
They still waited because they were hoping against hope that they were right. They were dead wrong. Okay. And when we did that, the first quarter when we put this whole strategy in place, we grew 43% volume growth. Then all these characters shut up.
And how would you prepare in those days?
I would just look at the data. I would just look at the thing saying, is there anything which I have a bias towards? Because one of the things about developing a hypothesis, Nancy, is you can get very caught up in your hypothesis and be blind to it and not see the blind spots in it. So I would constantly look at the data, I'd constantly scan to say, hey, what I'm saying is in the best interest of the company. It is not about me. So when you suspend anything which is accruing as a benefit to you and you say, hey, I'm working in the company's best interest and this is the right thing to do, then you'll work very differently. So every day of the challenge, I remember we had a horrible meeting with the CEO and the board. Really horrible meeting. Short of those guys told us, you have no clue what you're talking about. In hindsight, I will tell all of them, they had no clue. That's why they were talking like that. Okay. And that evening, I went out for dinner with it was a terrible meeting. Okay, really bad. So I took my team out and said, hey guys, are you confident that what you're saying is right? They said yes. I said, don't worry. The day will come when they'll come back and tell us that what we're saying is right. You don't need to worry. As long as you're very sure in your heart of hearts that you're doing the right thing. Okay. So, it's easy to say inspire people. But when they're down like that, when their CEO and the board has dressed them down, it's not easy. Okay. Then one day at a time.
The frustration.
3 months later,
Yes.
the same CEO and the board called us back and said, okay, do what you want. And I tell you, when the people walked out of the room, every single member of my team said, Shiv, they had no clue for all this time. Finally, they are able to see the light.
Yeah.
Now, that's what happens when you are not able to tell the truth to your people. If only the CEO and everybody else had said, go do what is right, it's a very different thing. Rather than saying, go do what I'm telling you is right.
But I think in today's time, you can't afford to afford to take this much time because things are changing drastically.
That's
Like
a great
in this
point
example.
you make. That's a great point you make, Nancy. Today, the information and the insight logic, that pyramid is upside down. Today, young people have much more information and insight on everything to do with technology and the impact of technology. In fact, the higher up you're on the value chain, the lower is your link with technology. So by definition, you rely on them. No more. Because in the past, you came as a CEO to a meeting to dispense what I call capsules of wisdom. Okay, 20 years ago, the CEO in the companies that I worked in would come to the meeting to say, okay, this is what I think will work. And we'd all dutifully write down and go back. Today, that is not true. It's quite likely the CEO has no clue what's going to happen now. So you have to orchestrate it. You have to ask different people. You have to say, okay, what's your point of view? You have to engage with people. Okay, you have to make, one of the things I used to do, I would say, okay, now we've thought about this. Whatever we're thinking about, whatever we're doing, will this surprise competition? Is a question I used to ask. Then people would say, no, I don't think so. Then I think that we're wasting our time. If you're not going to be surprising competition, which means there's no advantage, okay, forget it. Then I would say, divide the meeting into two and say, this is what we are saying. Hey guys, these 4 or 5 guys on the right side of the table, can you poke holes at this argument? And let's say, guys on the left side of the table, can you say why this is the best thing that we should be doing? So you have to collectively get the brain power of everybody at the table so that you can come to the best combined decision. I'm still not saying it will be correct.
Yes.
Remember that. Because groupthink is a dangerous thing. And that's why, as I write in the book, the art of asking great questions is very, very important. So when you don't know something, if I'm your boss, Nancy, I don't know something, and I think you also don't know it, then it's a futile discussion we are having. If I don't know something and I think you know it, then it's my art of asking great questions to get that knowledge out of you onto the table.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's the kind of thing which you need to do. There is absolutely no substitute for collective high IQ power coming to the table. There's no substitute.
And it's also not just technology and how you gather information in today's time. It is also about consumer. Like consumers are also changing
Dramatically. You're the consumer.
dramatically. Like I think I'm old now. We have Gen Z also, and uh, we are just in talks with Mintra that maybe we'll soon host someone from their team, and how they are now building for Gen Zs, because the clothes they wear, the language they talk, and everything is changed. So it is changing from in all the categories, the content that you write, the social media as a brand you should be on, what kind of clothes you should be designing, what kind of influencers you should onboard. Like now, brands are choosing influencers over traditional celebrities. So a lot of things are changing.
I know the Tatas have launched a Gen Z apparel brand here in Bangalore. They're test marketing it. I don't know how the results are. It's very early days. But the trouble with every generation is you can't age. That's the danger. So if you target only for Gen Zs, they age, remember, in 5-10 years' time. So you have to be relevant. Like we used to say, it's not about age, but are you young at heart? That's what it is. And if you are not able to straddle that as a brand, then you'll die with each generation. And that is the problem with a number of brands which have been built in the past for a particular, segment or whatever it is. Let's take the great brands of the past, which I don't think have moved the same level because they were stuck with their existing customer base. Mysore Sandal soap in Bangalore, Rajajinagar, great soap. Okay, but they were stuck with their set of consumers. Medimix, set with their consumers. Okay, so those are the kind of challenges that
you have to evolve, but
correct. You have to keep your core, but you have to be relevant to other people also.
Yes.
If you're not getting new customers in, new consumers in, you are in trouble.
What are the new brands? Like in some of the interviews, you call yourself a brand person. First of all, what do you mean by that? And then what are the brands that you really like in today's time? One thing that you have
when
learned.
I say I'm a brand person, I tend to look at brands and I tend to look at their consumers and what are they doing, how are they talking, etc., etc. Is there consistency in the strategy in what they're saying? What they say and what they do are very different things for most brands. Okay, is this brand a flavor of the day, a tactic of the day? Is this brand about promotion? 90% of the brands in India have gone down the tube because of excessive promotions. Okay, 90%. Okay, and the biggest sin category is apparel.
Okay.
In apparel, you buy one, you get 3 free. You buy 2, you get 5 free. What are you doing? Then you might as well have a commodity. Okay, so I think consumers love brands. Okay, Naomi Klein wrote many years ago called The No Brand World. Not true. 20 years later, it's still true. People reach out to brands. Why do people reach out to brands? People reach out to brands for security, for guarantee, especially poor people. If somebody is poor, he is buying a car, he's buying a phone, he's buying a phone worth 30,000 rupees. It is possibly 2-3 times his monthly income. For him, he wants to be very sure that the product is right. So I always say rich people buy brands for vanity, to show off. Poor people buy brands for security. Okay, so only by looking at consumers constantly and asking yourself, why does this happen? So I try to track as many innovations as possible, etc. I have great respect for Uniqlo, outstanding company. I think the way they brought technology to apparel and what they're doing. I have great respect for a brand called Rare Rabbit. Okay, in apparel, in the last 5-6 years, they've done a fantastic job.
What do you like about them? Like
I think the product, the quality, okay, what they've stuck with, great stuff. I think Jockey was doing a great job in the apparel business for quite some time, but I think today they might be getting diffused. Okay, another brand, since we're discussing apparel, another brand I have a hell of a lot of respect for is Manyavar. They opened up the ethnic Indian market. Now imagine they did that 10, 15 years ago. Now, and this is where a good marketer, a brand person will correlate. Now, you see Manyavar, he sells Indian ethnic clothes. He's not selling suits. Now, one data point, if you look at over the last 10, 15 years, nationalism is growing everywhere in the world. Okay, proud of being an Indian is off the charts.
Yes.
Proud of being Turkish is off the charts. And how does that represent itself? In the songs you choose, in the clothes you wear, in the language you portray, in the food you eat. So, whether Manyavar saw it or not, but I can see that, okay, they hit the sweet spot. Yes. That's a great marketing story.
And I also love the campaign that they had. So Amitabh Bachchan was in that ad, and I think the campaign called "Tayar Ho Ke Aiye." That's how they introduced ethnic wear. Yeah. That a lot of people would come wearing formals, or especially men. Absolutely. They would wear shirt and they'll attend the parties. So that's how they were introducing all these ethnic wears, that "Tayar Ho Ke Aiye." So it was an amazing campaign.
Now, if you actually look at it, the whole apparel business was selling suits. Now, suits are there for two occasions, which everybody knew. One, you get married in a suit, no longer true. So, Manyavar broke that. And second, you interview in a suit. That has not changed. But I personally believe a smart company will be one which will say, let's have an ethnic Indian day.
Yeah, like in women category, we have sari.
Yeah.
So women wear sari, and I really like it when I see.
So let's take sari since we're on apparel. One of the biggest unmet needs for poor women on saris is faster drying saris. Because a number of those saris are polyester saris. Yes. They wash it. They want it to dry fast. You know, now only when you talk to consumers and you realize they're paying, and that's what I love, which is talking to many different people or many different categories and asking them, why do you do what you do? Like one of the things I always ask everybody, every brand owner I meet is, why did you choose this brand name? Therein lies a story always.
Yeah. There is one very famous sari brand called Suta.
Yeah.
So started by two sisters, Sujata and Tarini, hence the name Suta. It's called Suta Bombay. And they now have store in Bangalore also. So they also solved one of the core problems that women like me, they want to wear saris, because you would see a lot of government employees who are women wearing saris, and judges and doctors. And you know, when you are in IT, you wouldn't see, because you can say that the life is hectic. The other women also say that, but I don't know why we don't wear saris. But now we want to wear, right? But the problem for us is that you don't know how to drape. So they sell these pre-draped saris.
Absolutely. I was just going to come to that. So
and
that's great.
We want
convenience.
Fashion also, because we don't want old style blouses. So you can mix and match blouses, and they're doing quite well.
Absolutely. You know, the other thing about clothes today, which if nobody's saying it, but I think somebody should do it. Because young people are on Instagram, young people are on, posting so much. In a phone, the camera feature is the biggest used feature now. Okay. One of the things, is people don't want to be seen in the same shirt or whatever it is in the next picture.
Yes.
So if you go for a wedding today, you don't want to repeat the sari in the next wedding.
I don't know why that happens.
But that is true. That is human instinct. It's human emotion. It's only boring.
And those are the most expensive clothes.
Absolutely right. Only boring guys like me wear the same tie. I know that I'm wearing the same tie. I'm okay with it.
I messaged you before the interview.
You messaged me saying, will you come in formals? I said, yes, I will be. Okay. So
I was trying to nudge you. Maybe you wear
come in a t-shirt.
Failed attempt.
So I think there are so many innovations which are possible in a simple category called apparel, whether it's saris, every single category. Like there again, if you look at it, there are no standard sizes for men and women today. So somebody who can develop a good size thinking, like I think Biba did a very good job of that as an example. Okay. So there are so many points which can be solved, pain points of the consumers. If you think like that, then I would think you're a brand person. If you don't think like that, then you're a manufacturing person. Because then you say, I have this pen, I've manufactured it, sell it. For example, let me take this. The Faber-Castell pen. Okay, I love pens. I don't write with fountain ink pens. Okay, so I bought this Faber-Castell pen, 50 rupees. Their CEO is a friend of mine, a chap called Partho Chakravarti. After I used it, it's a very light pen. So I wrote to him, I sent him a message saying, you know what, if you increase the grammage of this thing, the plastic bag, the few grams, it will give it a little more weight, which gives a cue of a pen, a rollerball pen. Otherwise, when I feel it, it feels much more like a ball pen. I said, as a regular user of pens, that's how I feel. So then he said, okay, I'll get his technology team to look at it, etc. But that's what I mean by, do you really get
Small
into
things, yes. And do you know about this company story, Domino's? It's the stationery brand. I think it is what it's called.
Okay.
It's a public company. They make pencils. And I had no idea about this company, that an Indian company and a public company, and doing extremely well in stationery category.
In stationery, I was in Sri Lanka about 3 months ago. I saw a pencil brand which is made from newspaper waste. Fabulous. I said, what a story.
Yes.
Now imagine what people are thinking. That's a great sustainability story.
Yes.
Okay. One of the companies which I visited in Sri Lanka is a company called GRI Tires. Okay. They make tires for the whole world. They have a sustainability tire. It's green in color. It's called the green tire. Again, what a great story. Think about it. So there are obviously very creative and very smart people everywhere. As long as you question, as long as you're willing to learn, you pick up those things.
So we will not now talk about your book. So you have recently written the CEO mindset. What do you mean by this CEO mindset?
Yeah.
Or mindset?
Good question. You know, when I go to business schools, and that's where the idea of this book started, I asked them a question. How many of you want to be a CEO? 90% of the hands go up, or 95% of the hands go up. And then we looked at empirical data. If you look at empirical data of mid-sized to large-sized companies, not startups and people who start their own company, about 5 to 7% of a batch makes it to CEO. That's it. So I asked myself, why is it that 95% of people want to be a CEO, but only 7% get there? So what explains this 85, 87% gap? And then I thought, look, you don't become a CEO when you're given the CEO role. You have to display that mindset for a number of years well before that. Okay? And that mindset is what I call the Charlie mindset. C for communication, H for holistic thinking, A for absolute standards, R for being reflective, okay, L for legacy thinking, I for investing in people, and E for ethical execution. Right from day one, if you are practicing elements of this, then only bad luck can stop you. If you don't practice these elements, you need a hell of a lot of luck to get that job. So I would say, develop the CEO mindset before you aim to be a CEO.
Any CEO that you admire the most?
There are lots of people in my career that I've admired. I've said this before. One of the early people I admired a lot is a chap called Robert McNamara. Now, McNamara was the CEO of the Ford Motor Company. Okay, till President Kennedy called him and said, now come and be my Secretary of Defense. And he was involved in the Vietnam War, a great guy. Then he went on to be the chairman of the World Bank. So he's one of the few guys in the world who has worked in private sector, government, and public sector. That's rare. Okay, non-profit, when I say public, non-profit, okay. So McNamara was outstanding that he was, when I used to read about him, when I was in college, starting my career, etc., almost everybody would say he would easily be the best prepared person in the room. He would read every single document sent to him. That's a habit I ingrained from McNamara, okay. Now, the other good habit of McNamara is, after he finished his stint, the Vietnam War, everybody got pasted. Everybody got egg on their face. He wrote a lovely book called In Retrospect, where he said, what went wrong? Why did we go wrong with the Vietnam War? That requires a lot of reflection and a lot of humility to say, I was wrong.
Yes.
And McNamara says, the reason why we went into the Vietnam War was we assumed that Vietnam will go the communist route. He said, nobody sitting in President Kennedy's Oval Office asked a very simple question. Why should Vietnam go communist? And so therein, I took a big lesson saying, stress test your assumptions. You might assume the wrong thing, which is quite often the case in many boardrooms. Stress test that assumption. So I learned a lot just reading about McNamara. I never met him or never corresponded with him. Peter Drucker was somebody who had a great influence on me because I always, liked reading his books, the simplicity of it, etc. There's a lovely story from Peter Drucker book, which is...
Can you talk about his profile also?
Yeah. Peter Drucker is the guru of management. Full stop. There's nobody who's been anywhere near that pinnacle. Okay. But here's the story. Peter Drucker was in Austria, management guru. He writes a book called The Adventures of a Bystander many years later. And he explains why he became a consultant or a teacher. He says he was the head of the parade carrying the flag. Obviously a symbolic pride gesture. He said, about 1 kilometer into that, I realized I don't like carrying this. He said he gave it to somebody else. Remember, he's a 15-year-old boy. He said, I gave it to somebody else. I stood on the pavement and I watched the parade go by. And he said, I realized then that my biggest strength is observations of being a bystander. Okay, then Drucker did fantastic work as a consultant with General Motors. So 3 things in the 1930s when he did this book, 3 things which are valid even today. He was the first guy to enunciate MBOs. Today what you know as MBOs is a Drucker innovation. He was the first guy to talk of span of control. Okay, but he said, there he was a little wrong. He said the maximum span of control for anybody will be 8. Okay, today in a tech world, you can go to 15, 18. In Pepsico, I had some 18 people reporting to me. And the third thing, which is a Drucker innovation, is the concept of a profit center.
Okay.
Okay, so these are 3 innovations of Drucker which have stood the test of time. So I used to write.
And how old you were when you were reading about these people?
Teenager, whatever it is. And I wrote to Drucker. So I am Calcutta, all my classmates used to rip the living daylights out of me. I would write to all the professors. I would get response from them. I would get their articles. I've written to Michael Porter. I've written to Benson Shapiro, Yoram Wind, Peter Drucker, everybody. You name a professor of that time, 80s and 90s, I've written to all of them. And all of them would send me the articles. And I would furiously read
How would you find out these people?
Those days
You'll read a book and then
you went to the Journal of Market Research, or you went to the Journal of Marketing, or advertising journal, or whatever it is. So I corresponded with Drucker for a number of years. He was kind enough. Now imagine, I'm a student. I'm a low-level area sales manager in a company. Okay, I write to him. He used to respond, and even better, he actually offered. He said, "Do you want to come to Santa Clara and spend a week?" Now imagine, as a young area sales manager, going to your boss. Those are not the days of sabbatical, and saying, you know what, I want to take a week off to go and attend Professor Drucker's courses. They would have possibly sacked me. Okay, they'll say, you have a job, stay with it. Okay, I wrote to Jack Welch. I have a lot of Jack Welch articles, everything that he spoke about. So
you were a total nerd.
Huh?
You were a total nerd.
Not a nerd. I would say, go back to that question you asked on Fighter. Go back to that question you asked on how do you stay ready every day, energy every day for a future world. If you don't stay relevant, see, how can one learn? I can learn on my own. I can learn by watching you. I can learn from the really great guys and say, hey, what did they do? Okay, what Welch has done is in his 20 years as CEO, you can condense it into good learning in a week or 2, as long as you are bothered about it. Okay, so I would say, more than a nerd, I had a fascination for insights and knowledge from people who succeeded and failed and were willing to share that. And that's the same philosophy I brought to the workplace. I would share liberally with everybody. Every article I read, I would photocopy it and give it to my team, in the result. Today, every article, good article I read to the boards and the executives, I send it to them. I read a book, I make a summary, I send it to everybody.
That's how you would train your team also.
Absolutely.
And I heard you saying somewhere that one of the regrets you have, like you don't have any regret, you said, but then the next line you said was, if I have to talk about one regret, I would say that I never went out and worked.
Went out and worked early.
Early.
Absolutely.
And you were talking to these professors and you had access, then what happened? Why?
I agree. See, but the company worked in Unilever. They said, look, we have enough opportunities for you here. Okay, so stayed, that's it. It's a matter of trust. And as I said, thanks to Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and Dr. Manmohan Singh, the opportunities opened up so many, not one or two. Look at the number of industries which have come up right now. Okay, so India is and was a great land of opportunity. So I didn't go abroad. I went abroad much later when I was leading emerging markets for Nokia out of Dubai. That was fulfilling, great fun. But if I'd gone in my 30s, that would have been a very different feeling. A different learning also.
I read Indra Nui's biography, and she was just talking about how she got into Calcutta, and then eventually how she became part of PepsiCo. And I was just talking to myself, thinking, why was she not here? Why did she move? And then I thought maybe we didn't have enough opportunities for a person like her back in time.
Yeah, sure.
What do you
So I
think
would say
about
that's what they say, the brain drain. Till about 80s, even my batch, we were a small batch in IIM Calcutta of 97 odd people. Half the people went to America and elsewhere. Okay, so the general feeling was that there's not enough opportunity to showcase your potential and your talent in a market like India. Okay, but I think that has changed today. Okay, now each thing has a reason also. The earliest brain drain was actually from Tamil Nadu. Okay, today if you look at the number of old age homes, they're all in Tamil Nadu. Because now these kids there, they can't take their parents there because there's no health security, etc. So there's a huge need which has come up. So there's
senior care?
Absolutely. The elder care has become a very big market thanks to that brain drain, as an example. Now, that's what you go back as a brand person. You have to correlate events to say, okay, that happened in the 90s, 80s. This elder care business is taking off now. Okay, that's a simple.
America always had this problem, but because it is part of their culture, like kids would move out. It doesn't matter if they are in the same city. But in India, it is a new problem because it's not like kids they don't want to live with parents. It's like they are not there in the city.
Absolutely right. Like today, if you look at it, see, we talk of brain drain. We saw a number of people leaving us. In the last 3-4 years, every election in every big country, many people have lost on a simple topic called immigration. You just saw what's happening in UK, a huge movement anti-immigration, big crowd all over the center of London. Okay, now I personally believe you will see a lot of talented Indians coming back. A lot of talented Indians will say, hey, there is good opportunity in India. Maybe there was some kind of opportunity in this country, but maybe India is worth trying.
Especially entrepreneurs have started coming back.
Many times when I would get CVs from US or UK or wherever it was, wanting to come back and join, when I interviewed those people, there were two what I call crossroad points. The first crossroad point is, my parents are getting old, Shiv, I want to come back. I need to take care of them now. Okay, whatever I've done is enough, fine, but I want to come back. If I get a good job, I'm willing to relocate. The second crossroad point was, my kids have become teenagers. I need to make up my mind whether they grow up in this culture or I bring them back to India. So these are the two crossroad points that I saw.
I think there is one more perspective. People went outside, they earned lots of money, achieved a lot in their career, but now they want to have an impact also.
Yeah.
And then I think that is also one of the...
You're right, but that's a different reason, which is now they're well settled, nothing to worry about.
They can't create an impact in those markets.
But nothing to worry about, they're well healed. In these first two cases, there's a genuine need they have that, look, my parents are getting old, my teenage kids, I need to make up my mind. Okay. The third one, you've reached a level at the top of the pyramid, you say, look, now I'm going to happily come back, I want to give back to society.
Yes.
That's a very...
We see a lot of people in that category.
That's very true. You're absolutely right. Absolutely, 100%.
I heard and I was reading the book and I really liked this one point that you mentioned, that there are 4 common P's to avoid. One
Bad
is
habits. Go on.
Politics, pettiness, procrastination, and personal ego. Which one of the 4 P's has been the hardest to vanish, like
To
remove some team
the
members?
hardest always I have found is you prepare very well. I tend to prepare very well and go for all meetings. You do all the work, etc., and people just procrastinate again. Okay, the ability to influence that when you know that it's the right thing to do, okay, is a very frustrating experience. So you can call it a combination of others procrastinating and your ego not accepting that, hey, I'm well prepared, trust me, okay, that I'm looking ahead and telling you. When I look back at my decisions over the last 20 years as a CEO, I could say that 9 times out of 10 I was right. And that's a pretty good strike rate. Okay, so that gives me the confidence all the time. Yesterday I was in a board meeting. We were talking about the structure. Now, the structure, the head of the nominations committee was clear that this is the structure. I was pretty clear. But the other 7 people of the board had a different point of view. So we had to go through a full process for an hour to convince them, to give them lots of logic, etc. why it is so. Now what happens when you're prepared, when you have experience, and by and large you want to do the right thing for the institution, is the answer comes to you intuitively. Okay. So when the answer comes to you intuitively, there is certain pride in saying that answer comes to me intuitively. But also there's a certain ego which says, why can't the others see it? Why can't they see what I'm able to see?
Yeah.
And that's real frustration for all leaders. When they, especially entrepreneurs. For a number of entrepreneurs, they come to that intuitive-led,
That's how they start.
That's how they start. But trying to convince investors, trying to convince their team, etc., is a long haul, and they're saying, yeah, why are you arguing? Let's go. That's one of the biggest challenges. And I've gone through the same thing through my career.
And how do you solve this problem, challenge in hiring?
There's no challenge.
Because nobody would want to work with, wrong set of people. You always find yourself solving petty problems with those people.
Agreed. See, let me look at it the other way around. If you're going to a company to be hired, the first thing I would tell you is, Nancy, please get your background ref check on the culture of the company. That's all. Don't get swayed by a CEO who talks rubbish, who makes grand plans, 5 years you'll be here, 10 years. Don't get carried away by that. Because a lot of CEOs promise and don't do anything. Don't get carried away by HR managers telling you you're the next best thing, Nancy, since sliced bread. Don't get carried away. Okay? Be grounded. Do your own check in terms of what is the culture of the place. Talk to ex-employees. Go to Glassdoor. Check all that. There's so much information available. Once you know that this is the culture of the place, for example, the culture can be very aggressive, focus on results, hire and fire company. If you're extremely ambitious, you're willing to take that risk, by all means go. Nothing wrong in it. On the other hand, if you sedate company, takes too much time, cannot decide, sleepy, and you have a fire in your belly,
Yes. You're
not going to change that.
Yes.
So I would say to any young person, okay, do your homework on the culture of the company even before you go for the interview.
We have one founder. He's part of Neon only. His name is Vijay Raipati, and we were talking to him. He mentioned that after the interview, they do anti-interview also, where they tell candidate that like this is the culture and these are our expectations. Because in the interview, you always ask about the other person's expectations, like what's your expectation from this company. Say after the interview, they do anti-interview also. Okay, this is how we operate. These are the values we have, and we don't operate like any other company where people work 9 to 5. We are working almost all the time, so there is no shock when they join.
No, okay, I'll come to that. But that's a very good way of doing it. It is like Shackleton. What did Shackleton post? He said, want people for this expedition. Return not guaranteed. You might die. Okay.
Yeah.
But people, signed up.
Still joined, yes.
Still joined. They said, okay, this is a great journey. It's a great thrilling experience. So what? I will take the odds. Yeah. Okay. Now the thing is, what you said. Okay, we work till 10 o'clock in the night, etc. The situation of the job market today, Nancy, is people want a job. Yes. They will say yes to all of that. The moment they have a job, they will crib like mad. They will say, I have no life. They were told that there's no life in this company. At least that founder, whoever you're talking about, has been honest enough. Okay, I need to go out with my girlfriend. I need to go out here. I need to have this. Doesn't work. That's when the stress starts.
Do you think it has started happening more frequently now? Like people are more
Yes.
impatient,
It's
quick
not
results
impatience.
they
No,
want.
it's not impatience. I would say what I see is that young people believe they have a lot more opportunities today than ever before. So if I have a lot more opportunities, I don't need to suck up to Nancy the boss. I can tell Nancy, fly a kite. Yeah. I'm off. I know my value, I know my worth, and I'll get something else there. So I always tell young managers, have great commitment. If you have that commitment and the company is not repaying it in whichever manner and right you believe you deserve, you watch them. If it doesn't, you move on. So today the number of industries, the number of opportunities are so wide that young people have that inherent confidence of taking risks with their careers, which wasn't true 20 years ago.
I think this is like you said somewhere that leave a legacy. I think this is what you mean. Like even if you are with a company for 2 years and you are maybe building a startup after this, at least for those 2 years, stay committed to company.
You know,
because when you leave, you are leaving a legacy behind.
Absolutely. I had a wonderful management trainee in Hindustan Lever called Paul Thatchell. He was my area management trainee, he was my area sales manager, he was my brand manager, he was my marketing manager. He did for wonderful guy. For whatever set of reasons, things didn't work out between him and his boss in Hindustan Lever and he left. He went and joined a company called Mother Dairy. Okay. Yesterday, I was on a flight with Nagarajan, who was the ex-CEO of Mother Dairy. And he was talking to me about Paul Thatchell. And he said, Shiv, I've never met Paul. He said, but everybody in Mother Dairy swears by all the good work he did. Now this is 10 years, 15 years after Paul has left that company. Why? He always worked for the institution. Okay. Now, how many Paul Thatchells are there in a company?
Very few, I would say.
Absolutely right. So if a company loses somebody like Paul, they are stupid. I would never want to lose somebody who has high commitment, who does what is right for the institution. It would make me cry to lose that guy. Why would you lose him? You know?
And finding such people is also
Absolutely.
very
Now
difficult.
imagine when people's legacies, somebody gives Nancy a farewell and forgets her tomorrow morning. Here's a guy who's left 15 years ago. They still remember him. Why? He did the right things. He was committed more than anything else to the company and its future. That one quality, if people had, you'll always do well.
But how to find these people? Like in hiring, as you said, that they would say yes to everything that you need, right?
Yeah. So
what do you look for in those people?
They need that innate curiosity. Okay. They need that essential drive. They would need a fifth gear. Third gear, many people are in gear 3. Some people are in gear 4. But these kind of guys are in fifth gear. They want to make a difference. Okay. And next, they're humble enough to accept their mistakes and say, hey, this didn't go well, but I'm willing to change course and I'm willing to move forward again. Okay. So they have resilience. So those are the type of people.
But these are the things you see when they join.
No, you can ask them various questions. You know?
Like, for example, if you
For
can
example,
just give
you ask somebody, okay, what's been your biggest disappointment in life so far? Check what the person says. Okay, for example, if I ask you, hey Nancy, what's your biggest disappointment in life so far? You could say, hey, you know what? Shiv, when I started, I wanted to go to Harvard. My dream was Harvard. But I couldn't make it because my financial circumstances didn't allow me to do it. Okay, now you're telling me a raw truth. Okay, but you're saying fair. I aim big. I was aiming for the moon. I didn't get there, Shiv, but I'm on my way. Okay? Maybe one day there'll be a case study written on Nancy in Harvard. You never know.
And then what are the other questions? Because I find it truly like it is a good point. What can be the other questions? Because you can check, you can do background verification, you know the college they have been to, but how do you judge a character?
Yeah.
Like because we now have close to 60 companies and hiring is one of the biggest challenges they have. So how do you hire the right kind of candidate?
So the other question to ask is, what's your learning style? Okay. There are some people who learn by watching others. There are some people who learn by themselves. So a question to ask is, are you a decimal point manager or are you a whole number manager? Okay.
Okay.
How do you take targets? What targets have you set for yourself? Okay. When you're a decimal point manager in a company, you keep debating with your boss whether your target should be 5% or 5.4%. Useless exercise. Absolutely waste of time. So in most MNCs, a budget setting exercise is an exercise in minimalization. What is the least I can get away with? In Indian owner-driven companies, the paper goes to the Indian owner, he will scratch and say, this is the number I want, it goes back, end of story.
Okay.
Okay. The owner's ambition determines how you stretch. So now, if you find people quibbling about their targets, it doesn't have that fifth gear. I says, doesn't matter. To me, I have never worked in my career looking at my target. My target is an outcome of my commitment. If I'm committed, it'll happen. If I'm doing damn good work, it'll happen. There are 2-3 years in my career where the results are terrible. Not because I was not committed, because the circumstances were such. That's okay. I don't blame the circumstances. So always look for what I call the full number manager, not the decimal point manager. Okay. And if you are able to see that spark in that person, wanting to do well, willing to accept failures,
We
humility.
talk about
etc.
background also, like
Background doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm honest enough, and I'm saying this into the camera for you. I have never bothered about whether this guy is from an IM or an MBA or this or that. Never bothered. I only look for results. Can this guy work with people? Can this girl work with people? Can they produce results? Never in my consideration has been a
But
degree.
this has been the advice from so many.
I've always done that. You can check with anybody who's worked with me. I've never hired for a degree.
Like lot of emphasis on value system, and what kind of value system the person has. It has a lot to do with background. You don't agree with that?
Difficult to judge. Difficult to judge. In this world, like for example, you see the number of fraud cases which are happening. Okay, CEOs are doing it, CXOs are doing it. Okay, look at the number of people. Today I was talking to somebody in the verification business. They verify candidates for first job to IT companies, banks, etc., etc. I asked him, hey Ravi, if you interviewed 100 people, the company asked you to interview 100 people, do their background check, ref check, everything, etc., university degree, and you send the papers up, how many go wrong? He said 5 to 7%. That's a hell of a lot for a startup thing. So now, how do I judge the value of that guy or the values that he professes? If 7% of those degrees are fake or 7% of what he said on his CV is wrong. So I think we live in a world where puffery is the norm. Leaders claim puffery. Everybody exaggerates what they do. Facebook, Instagram.
Because there is a lot of noise.
Absolutely
so they feel
right.
that they can cut the noise if they.
It's full of, let's take, forced peer pressure, which makes you behave like that. We live in that world. So how much is authentic, how much is not? If you remember I think it was The Day of the Jackal, the Frederick Forsyth book, where he said 50% of this book is true, 50% of it is fiction. It's for you to figure out what is fiction, what is true. It's like that today. Most CVs are like that today.
Yeah, and that is why it's just so difficult to find the right people for your business. Even find friends.
That's a great point. In fact, one of the things we see...
Because it hardly connect with...
Correct. One of the things we see in organizations is people are saying, I don't have a best friend at work. I don't have a buddy at work. That is a problem. And hence, I believe, and I'm saying this next week in Dubai also, focus on relationships at work. Especially in this work from home, hybrid, this, that, etc. We've taken our eye off relationships at work. And I think relationships at work should not be that I scratch your back, you scratch my back. That's not a relationship. A relationship is when it works for the company. We are friends, but in the interest of the company. We are not friends just because we like each other, the company go to hell.
Yeah.
Okay. We are not friends big that in a meeting you sit and say, yeah, I agree with you. That is not friendship.
Lot of our, like, the podcast that we have, so most of founders watch this podcast. So for them also, it'll be a valuable lesson from you how to build the relationship, because they have multiple stakeholders. They have
Great
to build the
question.
relationship with
Great question. Thank you for
uh,
asking that.
investors. Sometimes apart from investors, we have angel investors also who are ex-founders who we want to work with closely to learn from them. How do you build a relationship
Yeah.
with them?
See, every relationship finally has an end point called trust. And the value of a relationship and the path to trust is about transparency. I also work with founders. The first advice I'd give founders, all of you out there, tell the truth to your investors. I cannot tell you how important it is. Okay, I don't know about your numbers. I believe at least 50% of founders massage the data and the numbers before they come to the investor. At least. They want to make it look good.
Yes.
That is wrong in my book. If you tell the truth, you might be better off. Because when you massage the data, you're living to the next meeting, that's all. It will only get worse. Number one. Number two, if you're a bunch of founders, have very clear agreement on how you'll handle disagreement. Suppose you have an invested company, Nancy. That's the CEO. There are three founders. They must have a charter which says, if we disagree on this issue, we'll go to Nancy or we'll go to somebody and we'll take that as the final word. Quite often, egos come in the way and founders start
Yeah, I think
scrapping at each other.
75% of the companies fail because of co-founder or
Absolutely
founder
right.
conflict.
Because, see, when you are friends, when there is no business involved, there's no money involved, there's no reputation involved, yeah, you shoot the breeze, you go drink beer, you go for a cricket match, you go for a movie. That's a different life. When suddenly you start managing a company as founders, suddenly you say, hey, my opinion is better than yours. I think I am right. So if you don't know how to resolve differences, and this is true even for family companies, okay? That's the second one. Third one I would say is for all founders, build a capable team below you. These are the three things you must be very clear about. If you're not clear about this, you're gone. Okay, then you need luck to see you through. These are in your control.
But for founders, either you have the equation with them or you don't have. You can't build it when you're not able to connect with the other person.
Then don't have him as a founder.
Yeah, that's
simple
why
as-
they do, like they break up and
Absolutely right.
75% of the
75, you
startups fail.
said. My sense seeing the founders, I was at 50%, saying 50%.
I think YC quoted this number, so maybe global number.
Yeah.
And any other advice for them, because you work with many startup founders? What are the other issues they have?
In my book, your unit economics must turn out right. As simple as that. Cut to the chase, etc. In one of the jobs I did, we met at least 200, 300 founders, long discussions, etc. Simply, what is the state of your unit economics? In fact, many businesses you can scale up. The more you scale, the more you lose money. That's not smart. Okay. So if your unit economics are not right, if the capability in the team is not right, then it's a problem. So how big is the addressable market? And when I say addressable market, being honest about what is possible. See, a lot of people paint India as 1,400, doesn't work. Be honest about the addressable market. Okay, if you're talking the middle class of India, that's about 400 to 430 million people, max. Can't be more than that. As simple as that. Now, you can figure out various ways, but don't go and sell a pipe dream to people.
What are the common mistakes founders make when they pitch to people like you?
I think the common mistake they make is they overestimate the size and potential of their idea dramatically. Okay, they underestimate the rigor in getting the margin structure right. Okay, they underestimate the capability needed to move an organization full. That's what I have seen with all my interaction with founders.
And you have recently met any founder who you really liked, like talking about startup founders?
Oh yeah, like for example, PC Mustafa. I'm on his board. He's also contributed to the book. So we went there as Advent to pitch money to him, to saying, hey, would you be needing money? He said, no, Shiv, I don't need capital now. And he told the Advent team. But he said, hey, do you come to Bangalore? I said, yes, I come. I visit my mother regularly. I'm a Bangalore boy. He said, every time you come, why don't you drop in and let's have a chat? So when I went first time, he said, Shiv, why don't you talk to my team about how to set up a B2B business? Second, how to talk to them about how to set up an innovation council. Something else. That's how the relationship started. 4 months later, he said, hey Shiv, why don't you join my board? Okay. Now, the good thing about PC is I always tell him the truth. If he says, this is the idea I have, I tell him, look, PC, this won't work. I don't think so, from whatever I've seen. But I'm willing to tell you the truth. It's up to you. It's your decision. It's your money.
Any example you can share?
There are lots of examples. For example, let's take what are we doing in coffee as an example. Okay. A decoction is okay. Anything else? Unlikely. Okay. Milk and dairy is a tough business.
No, I was talking about ID because I'm
ID only. I'm
also
talking
a
about
loyal.
I'm talking about ID only. For
Okay.
example, ID, I personally believe the biggest area of the future is innovation in ID. When I say innovation, a whiter batter, vegetable infused batter, high protein batter. Those are the ideas that we need to pursue, not price. You know, a lot of founders, the other mistake they make is the first sign of rough weather or turbulence, they cut price. In fact, I would say the first sign of turbulence, invest in innovation. More. Get something new to the table. Because in every troubled times, if you do the same thing again, the comparative benchmark is the same. If you try something new, you're setting a new benchmark.
And ID has been innovating a lot for the last
Absolutely.
many years. Started with batter, and now they have in batter only a lot of varieties.
I
Like
know.
they have a ragi batter also.
Absolutely right. That's the
And
kind of thing we should do.
earlier, I would see people in South India consuming ID. Now I see in
Across
Delhi
the
also. I think they are the number one
No,
brand.
PC has done a fabulous job. But again, he's an entrepreneur who's lots of ideas.
Yes.
He needs capable professionals like me to say, hey, you know, we think this will work, this might not work. It's our job to tell him, even though he's the chairman of the company and the owner of the company.
Yes. What are the other companies you are serving?
Enough.
Penguin is.
For example, Penguin is another discussion. I think the business model in publishing needs to change. We have more authors in India than bookstores. Think about it. We have more authors in India than bookstores. There are 5,200 bookstores. Live authors, we have at least thousands, 10,000, all languages put together. We have a fundamental business model issue. Nobody makes money. Authors don't make money.
And we still have book culture, but I'm still not sure about.
The economics are not good.
Yeah.
So I won't give you the ideas which I've recommended to Gaurav of Penguin, a very different way of thinking about the business model of publishing. He said, Shiv, this is an interesting idea. I will talk to my team. I've left it with him. I won't signal it
Maybe
because
next time.
yeah, it's confidential. So I think
Yes,
he
yes.
should look at it. So it's a very different industry, you know. And I'm scratching my head to say, I've seen an industry when there are more people on this side rather than on the middle side of it. It's amazing. Like if you take FMCG, there are 11.3 million outlets in FMCG. Okay, we don't have 11.3 million companies doing FMCG.
Yes.
Okay, or producing goods. Here we have 5,200 middlemen and we have 10,000 authors. So the chicken's neck is, you know, very, very tight. So if your book does not have traction, you are dead on day one. Now, how many authors, how many publishers realize it? How many are willing to tell the author that? Now, since you're talking, almost every founder is writing a book right now as I speak to you. Every founder.
Every founder, every
Yeah.
influencer, every thought leader who is quite done with.
Every founder is ghostwriting a book. Sorry, I must correct myself. They've
No,
got
I totally agree with you.
they've got a writer. I think that is wrong.
Yeah.
This book, every word, every sentence is written by me, not ChatGPT, not by any ghostwriter. I have written this. I take pride in it. So if you want your voice to come across, you must write it.
But I think publishing houses also, like, they don't have any issue with it. But I think
It
they
is
should,
not, I think, see, it's like this. That's a
because
great
I
point.
see leading publishers only publishing books that are not written by.
You know, that's a great point you make. You know, in my whole career, there's only once when I was away in America, when I was in Pepsico, that a circular had to go from me or a message had to go from me. And somebody in the comms department who had drafted it and sent it out. I can't tell you, somebody wrote to me saying, Shiv, I know this is not written by you, it's not your style. And he said, look, as an employee, I expect my CEO to write to me. Only once it happened in my career, but it's a great lesson. It was a great learning. So think about it. If I'm an entrepreneur, I would like, the reader would like my voice.
Yeah.
Not Mansi writing a book and me proofreading it and saying yes or no. My voice must be there.
And that's how you decided the topic of this book
Absolutely
also,
right.
right? That you were also thinking about market, emerging markets.
Absolutely
And the
right.
markets that you have operated in. And then
Absolutely
you
right.
finally decided to choose this topic.
Absolutely right.
Because whenever you would go to, like, this is, I have heard you talking about this, that every time you go to these colleges, people would ask
The question.
more of the questions that
In
you
this
have
book.
answered in this book.
Absolutely. So the same logic applies for presentations. A lot of CEOs outsource their presentation to a junior manager. Don't do that. It's your voice.
Yes.
When somebody else does it, it's not your voice. It's a voice over.
Yes.
A voice over is very different from a voice. Most CEOs are doing the voice over business. Don't do that. I would not do it. I've never outsourced my presentations to anybody. I do it myself, number one. I've never repeated a presentation in 30 years of my life, ever. So you must take pride in your personal brand. If you don't take pride in your personal brand, then your personal brand is not worth the value. Now imagine you work for me, okay? You are making my presentation. I go and do this presentation. And on LinkedIn, people say, great presentation, etc. You are telling everybody, I made it. This guy is a joker. Credit is mine. I put that slide in, I put that word in. You've lost respect for me. People don't realize that.
So the ex-CEO of Ponds India, V. Balaraman, said that Shiv distributed Nokia among Indian consumers in HUL distribution style. Like, what did he mean by it?
Yeah, that's very, very good point. Mr. Balraman is one of my mentors. Okay, he lives a few blocks down here. The biggest strength of FMCG companies and the early great FMCG distributed companies were ITC, were Union Carbide, were Hindustan Lever. Okay, so you had products, you didn't have advertising. So you had to go to village by village, show them reels, actually show people, this is a soap, this is how it works, this is the lather, nothing will happen to your skin. Okay, wash it off, now it's fine. Okay, so you had to demonstrate on the village street, okay, a number of these things. So that was the old model of distribution. Okay.
That's why they'll place all these trainees in all these geographies.
Yeah. But today that model is severely disrupted with Q-commerce and e-commerce, etc. Severely, which the same old legacy companies haven't woken up, which is the point of disruption. When we started Nokia, a very small company, we recognized that the networks coming out, we had to go to the villages and the small towns, etc. When we went there, we recognized that people were more worried about the service of the phone than the phone brand itself. So first we had to start the service center before we went to distribute. Number two, when we had to distribute, we had to go with a SIM card in tow, because going on our own was no use, because finally the consumer needs a SIM card plus this. Okay, so that's the kind of distribution efforts which we did in order to penetrate. So we went from about 40 distributors to about 400. We went from, I think, 10,000-15,000 outlets to more than 1 lakh outlets or 2 lakh outlets, which is more outlets than China mobile phone industry. So that's what he means by that. He was also on the advisory board of Nokia.
And one of your mentors.
Yes, and he knows these things. Remember, that's why he said it.
And one more question I have for you, that you led companies in 3 different industries, telecom, FMCG, and a conglomerate. And you said that a CEO should work in different sectors. Why is that?
Because see,
yes,
if you only work in one sector, you have blinkered, because that's the only thing you learn and know. Only if you're a great learner, which is rare, okay, will you go out of your orbit. If you work in different industries, you learn very different business models, you learn very different trade, you learn very different tricks, and you learn very different management approaches.
And you unlearn also.
You unlearn. Then you realize, for example, when I went from FMCG to telecom or etc., I realized that FMCG distribution was overrated. Useless thing in these kind of industries. In these industries, product mattered, innovation mattered. In FMCG, innovation didn't matter. They all talk about it, but there's no innovation. Okay, so that's what I mean by, then suddenly you are in an industry like mobile phones where if 40% of your sales don't come from new models launched that year, you're dead. It's over. So all your effort is focused on building that innovation pipeline. Okay. In FMCG, very rarely do you reduce price. Government reduce GST, you reduce price. In cell phones, within a week of launching a product, you reduce price because you're driving for scale. Now, the management of that channel and the trust that the channel has in you, that they will buy knowing that next week there could be a price drop, is a different exercise compared to the trust they have in an FMCG brand. So you learn so much by operating in different industries.
So how was your experience with Nokia was different from Pepsico and Unilever? Pepsico and Unilever were similar?
Similar yet dissimilar because the categories are very different, food and this thing. Nokia was easily the best company I worked in. I have no shame in saying that. A wonderful bunch of people, great culture. Okay, in Nokia, what mattered was you did what's right for the company. Earlier, you're talking about, how do you ensure that people work for the institution, who can speak out. In 2010, when Nokia had its reorganization, okay, one engineer, we used to have 860 blogs in Nokia those days. Okay, not today, 15 years ago. One of the engineers of R&D wrote in a public blog, okay, saying this reorganization is like reordering the chairs on the Titanic. Imagine. His boss, Nicholas Savender, who was the chief operating officer, came to visit us in Delhi. I was running India then. So in the car journey, I said, hey Nicholas, this guy David has written this. You know what Nicholas said? Yes, Shiv, I need to tell him that, it's good to have this thing, but just think about what you're posting. That's all. He never said, I'll pull him up. How dare he say this? In a way, that guy was commenting on his boss and the management team. Yes. But they took it in their stride, saying, he's saying it in the best interest of the organization. Because he said it doesn't mean I'm an idiot. He is free to have his opinion. Ask yourself, how many management teams, how many companies can have that culture?
Yeah.
That culture is one of magnanimity.
Any company in India where you would see?
No chance.
I also think so.
Not by a long mile. That's a very different culture. The Finns are very different.
Why don't we have this culture in India?
This society is different. Like in Finland, you can retire at age 55 with 65% of your last round salary. First kid, 800 euro. Second kid, 1200 euro. The country gives you. Okay. Education is free till PhD. You only pay for PhD. It's a very different society. That's what it is. It's so transparent a society that, my boss, Olli-Pekka Kolasua, he's also a golfer. He had gone to Germany and he'd bought back one extra club. Okay. And the custom said, Mr. Olli-Pekka, you already bought many clubs, so we have to fine you for this. Now, that's the nature of that society.
Yeah.
Here imagine a politician or a CEO or anybody who's well connected, one club, he'll bring 100 clubs. Yes. And nobody will say anything. But in that country, they said, Olli-Pekka, you pay the fine. So Olli-Pekka paid the fine, went. But it became news next day, saying CEO of Nokia bought one extra club. Forgotten. Then people say, okay, move on. Okay, so that's the kind of society it is. So there's a lot of background there. There are some parts of India which are there, some will go.
You write in the book that how to develop a CEO mindset, right? And I was also reading it somewhere that you said, I really liked it.
Oh, good.
That you said there are times when you need your company, right?
When you
need your company.
Yes, correct.
You expect support and empathy from your company, right? And there are times when your company needs you.
Correct, 100%. Right?
And then you need to outperform. Absolutely. You have to do exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about it?
So your career is going well. you're fine, okay, and you know, everything is going on, no worries. Let's take, you have a health problem, you have something else, okay, and that's when you require the support of the company. Let me give you an example. You know, my father passed away in an air accident. After knowing that, I was in Bangalore that day. I'd come from Chennai. There was a training program I was supposed to address. Neeraj Verma was the head of training then. I went to the training program after I got to know that my dad had passed away in an air accident. I did the training program. 1 hour, I finished it. I told him this is what's happened, but I will do my program. I did that 1 hour, came back. Came to the office. I got a call from Anand Bhatia, who was a director and CEO. He said, Shiv, I heard this. If you need to take a charter flight also, that's fine. You and your family to go to this place where your, dad's accident happened. Don't worry about it. Now, it's not that I would do it, but the fact that he could say it, that's when I needed it most. Okay, so in your moments of vulnerability, when you are down emotionally, when you're down badly, that is when you need the company to support you. For example, take sport as an analogy. Okay, when a team is down, what does the manager do? Okay, there's a lovely clip of Al Pacino, in that movie. I think it's called something Sunday, where he's trying to motivate his team at halftime, saying, look at the guy to the left, look at the guy to the right. They will die for you. Okay, you get life 1 inch at a time. Okay, that 1 inch matters on the ground there. What are you willing to do for that 1 inch? He says, look at me, I'm a spent force. I'm a drunkard. I've lost. I pushed off people who loved me. But don't let that happen to you. That's when you inspire and motivate people. So every time a team is down, every time a company is down, you need that external force. When does a company need you more? When they're going through a transformation. In Unilever, we are going through a tough time. There are times I have taken a train, okay, with Vaishali Banerjee, who's to be then with JW. I've taken a bus, with Vaishali Banerjee and others in the team. We have taken a bus to Hyderabad. We have taken a bus to Vijayawada for market work and meetings. Forget a train, because we felt the company needed that. So when company needs you, when, for example, cost cutting, when company says, let's cut costs, how many people truly say, okay, I'm committed? It's a great thing. Not many people do. So when the company needs you, you have to stretch that extra.
And that's how you leave your legacy, right?
Absolutely
we talked
right.
about it.
Yeah.
All the small things that you do.
Absolutely.
Like this one is not the small cost cutting one. But there are other things you do. Like when the extra work is there, you don't say that this is not my work, right?
Yeah.
You do it. You understand that the other person has left and company needs you, you have to do it.
Absolutely.
Or the company is growing. If we talk about startups, that there are so many startups, they have no idea that maybe in the next 3 months they grow like anything and then they can't manage things.
Absolutely.
They're continuously hiring, but the work is also exploding, right?
Yeah.
Then you need those 5 to 10 folks who can just...
So when I was running a category, Archana Bhaskar, who was the CHR of personal products, she came to me and said, Shiv, we also want you to handle Kimberly Clark, the Kotex brand, this thing, etc. Please advise them, Rajiv and his team, Anita and her team, and Anupam Bhukem. I said, sure. The company needs a stretch, so what? But you don't use that as a bargaining chip, is my point. When you do that, then you're a mercenary. Okay, you do it in the best interest of the company. That's when the company needs you. But if you go back and say, hey, I did this, now please pay me extra, then you're not doing it for the company, you're doing it for yourself.
And you always want to, do more for that person, right?
Absolutely.
And you want to move mountains for those kind of people.
Absolutely, because the company did a lot for me. I was one of the most trained managers in Unilever. I owe them that. Irrespective of what I've said about some of the guys not understanding the future, it was a great company at that point of time. I owe a lot of my thinking to the way I was shaped and I was trained.
And that's how you also build the relationship, right?
Absolutely right, yeah.
You may leave company at one point in time, but people stay with you, right?
Yeah. And you reflect on it.
Yes.
And you be honest about what was good about the company and what it didn't work.
Yes.
You need to have that ability to be honest.
Yes.
Which is the point I made about McNamara. He had that in it. Imagine the whole world said Vietnam War, you're a stupid guy.
Yes.
For him to write a book to say, yes, I was wrong, and this is the reason I was wrong, that takes great amount of intellectual honesty. Show me how many CEOs stand up and say I was wrong.
Would do that, yes.
Now here's a guy who's done 3 of the biggest roles in the world. He stands up and says I was wrong. That's rare.
I really love that example.
Yeah.
So just have one parting question for you,
Yeah.
Shiv. I think I have taken a lot of your time.
No worries.
So in the world of AI, lot of things are changing. Almost everything is changing, I would say, right? When it comes to business, what's that one thing that people are not seeing? Like, if I put it in one line, what has changed about business that no one is talking about? Right.
I think the one thing which people are not recognizing to the same degree, the more technology you have, the more AI you have, the more anything you have, the more the emphasis on soft skills and person-to-person interaction. Take email as an example. It's supposed to be the ultimate collaborative device. The more email has come, people now broadcast to the world, nobody sits down and talks to each other. One of the biggest features used in email is BCC. To say, look, I'm the greatest. I don't agree with Nancy. Okay, what she's saying is not right. Why do you do all that? So we are in the danger of losing that eyeball to eyeball contact and relationship as more and more stuff come onto the table with technology. That's my biggest worry. So I personally believe in a future world, we will hire for soft skills and train for hard skills. In the past, we hired for hard skills and trained for soft skills. Okay, I think that's it.
That is a great point. I think I have never thought about it that way.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Shiv, for your time.
Thank you, my dear.